Venerable Sampson the Innkeeper. The life of Saint Sampson is the most amazing example of love, a double love for both God and man. Love that was not restricted to words, but was mostly in deeds. The saint's parents came from noble Roman families, and they possessed great wealth. Because of this, they were able to give their son every advantage, including the best teachers to ensure that he got an excellent education. Young Sampson was an obedient and hard-working student, and he progressed rapidly in studies. Compassionate by nature, he soon dedicated himself to the subject of medicine and eventually became a doctor so that he could minister to the sick and the infirm and alleviate their suffering. The saint often searched the city to find the poor and the sick, beggars, the homeless, and the elderly found hospitality and care in his loving home. He would buy food and medicine with his own money to tend to his guests. Seeing his philanthropic soul, God made him worthy to perform miracles and heal even the most difficult diseases with a prayer. But the saint, out of humility, hid his gift. He knew well that the honors of men make a soul proud, so he pretended to heal people by using different herbs. The blessed Sampson lived in this manner the entire time, and he stayed in his parents' home. His great virtue was revealed after their death, when the saint did not keep anything for himself from his large inheritance. He sold all his property and possessions and distributed the money to the poor. They say that his wealth was so great that there were not a poor man in the city who did not receive alms from his hands. He thus became well known for his gifts and kindness. But the humble saint did not like this. Wanting to avoid people's praise, he left his homeland and went to Constantinople. After first worshipping the city's magnificent churches, he found a humble dwelling and settled down. There he spent his days in prayer and fasting. He studied the Holy Scriptures, and his faith in God grew and grew. But his love for the suffering remained very strong. Soon, not only did many poor and sick people begin to gather daily in his house to be fed and healed, but also foreigners and others who had nowhere to stay came, and he hosted them. The saint refused to accept money for any of these services, even though he himself was penniless. His fame spread anywhere and even reached the ears of the ecumenical Patriarch Menas. When the Patriarch met the saint and confirmed what he had heard about him, he ordained him a priest in his diocese. At this time, the pious Emperor Justinian reigned in Constantinople, and one day he fell seriously ill. The most famous doctors of the city were called to the palace, yet not one of them could cure him. Justinian's pains grew worse and became unbearable, and everyone could see that his life was in danger. Overcome by despair, the emperor prayed to the Lord with tears in his eyes. O God, you are my only hope. Have mercy on me. The Lord heard his prayer and sent a miraculous dream in his sleep. It seemed to the emperor that he was in a place where many doctors were gathered, all of them dressed in priestly garments. While he stood there, gazing at them in admiration, a shining young man with golden clothes and a radiant face approached him. Pointing to one of the doctors, the shining young man said, Emperor, take a good look at this man, because he alone can heal you, and no one else. As soon as Justinian woke up, he immediately summoned all the doctors of Constantinople to the palace. Within a short time, all those who knew the medical arts were assembled before the royal throne. Emperor Justinian examined them carefully, but could not find anyone who resembled the man he had seen in his vision. He was thus overcome with great sorrow, and he said to the physicians, I called you here because the good Lord granted me a divine vision, but I see with great sadness that none of you will be able to save me from my condition. One of the doctors then said, Emperor, if you please tell us more about your vision, it's possible we might be able to help you find the one you are looking for. My good man, the emperor answered, I do not believe there is any way for you to relieve my horrible pains, but because I am moved by your concern, I will reveal to you all I saw. And so the emperor shared his vision in great details. Afterward, the doctor said, Don't worry, Emperor. The man you described is not far away. The angel was surely indicating Sampson the priest. He came to our city a while ago. Many people say that he cured them without medicine, but through prayer alone to God. The emperor promptly sent his servants to find the venerable one, and he was soon brought to the palace. And when Justinian saw Sampson, he immediately recognized him. Descending from his throne, the emperor embraced and kissed the saint, saying, Truly, dear father, you are the one I saw in my dream. He then led the saint into the palace with great honors. This did not please the humble priest Sampson, for he knew well that the honor belonged to God, who alone can cure every disease of the soul and body. Emperor, the saint said, I cannot even cure myself of my own passions. How do you think I will be able to help you? Seeing Sampson's humility and the emperor's faith, once more God sent his divine grace. As soon as the saint put his hand to the spot where the sick emperor was hurting, the pain immediately vanished. But the blessed Sampson, wishing to avoid the price of man, put a little ointment on the spot and pretended that it was the cause the cause of the healing. Yet, because so many doctors had achieved nothing with their medicines, everyone understood that the prayer of the saint was what worked the miracle. Justinian wanted to reward the saint by giving him great amount of gold and silver, but the saint would not accept it. Emperor, I too had great inheritance, considering of both money and estates, but I shared them, knowing that riches fill the mind with ignorance and do not leave the soul free to sincerely love God. If you want to do something good for your soul, have craftsmen build a hospital next to my home so that I may receive the sick and the homeless there. In this way, many will pray for you, and you will be benefited both in this life and in the next. Justinian liked this idea, for it gave him a way to express his gratitude to God. He immediately ordered that a large and beautiful hospital be built precisely where the saint had requested. When the construction was complete, he named it Sampson the Innkeeper Hospital and endowed it with a great deal of money and property. Thus, all the needs of the hospital, doctors, food, and medicine were covered. The Venerable One remained in Constantinople until he reached old age, glorifying God with his blessed life and revealing his suffering brethren. Even after his repose, Saint Sampson the Hospitable did even after his repose, Saint Sampson the Hospitable did not stop performing good works. Once a great fire started in Constantinople and burned down many buildings. The fire eventually reached the saint's hospital and started to burn its roof. Many Christians ran to extinguish it, but in vain. Instead of the flames grew and grew in the midst of their fright and despair. The people suddenly saw Saint Sampson walking on the roof and speaking to the fire. He ordered the flames to abate, and indeed this is what happened. The fire quickly shrank away, as if it were afraid of the saint's voice. Then the saint knelt down and prayed to God, asking him to protect the hospital, and his prayer was answered. The fire went out without causing any damage to the building except for the small part of the roof that had initially been burnt. Saint Sampson performed many other miracles after falling asleep. To this day, he continues to be a tireless mediator to God on behalf of the poor, the sick, and the homeless. Amen.